You were taught to be liked, to be agreeable, to be easy to digest. Smile more, don't make waves, fit in. But liked people are forgotten. Respected people are remembered. And the difference? It's not in volume, it's in value.
You don't get remembered by blending in. You don't get respected by saying what's safe. You get both when you stop asking for permission to be who you are. Because the truth is, being liked is easy. It costs nothing. Being respected, that costs everything. Being liked means you made them comfortable. Being respected means you made them think. And most people don't want to think. They want to feel good. They want you to agree, to play along, to stay small enough not to challenge anything. But comfort doesn't build legacy. Silence doesn't shape culture. Respect comes from being clear, from standing for something, even if it shakes the room. Because the ones who stay silent, they vanish. But the ones who speak truth, even when their voice shakes, they leave echoes. You don't have to be loud. You just have to be real. And in a world full of copies, that's rare enough to remember you can't be deeply respected while constantly trying to be liked. Because respect is born from boundaries, from truth, from the willingness to disappoint the crowd to stay loyal to yourself. Liked people say what others want to hear. Respected people say what needs to be said. Liked people stay in line. Respected people draw the line. And here's the part no one says out loud. The moment you stop bending to please them, they'll call you difficult, arrogant, cold. Let them. Because if your presence demands respect, it will never require approval. And if they can't handle that, they were never meant to remember you anyway. You don't earn respect by saying yes to everything. You earn it by knowing when to say no. No to what drains you. No to what doesn't align. No to people who only show up when they need something. Because every yes that betrays your values chips away at who you are. And you can't be remembered for who you truly are if you keep silencing your instincts just to be accepted. They may like your compliance, but they'll respect your clarity. Respect isn't about being agreeable. It's about being unchangeable in the face of pressure. And when you start living like that, you stop needing to be invited. You become the room. If being liked means shrinking, then rejection is freedom. You weren't made to be tolerated. You were made to be felt. And some people will never like you. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence reminds them of what they're not ready to face. Your confidence, your boundaries, your refusal to stay small. You intimidate those who can't control you, and they'll try to soften you, make you more digestible, more quiet. But here's the truth. If everyone's comfortable around you, you're not being fully yourself, because real presence causes friction. It moves the air when it enters a room, and not everyone can breathe in that. Let them choke. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to make a mark. Being remembered isn't about volume. It's about weight. You don't have to speak all the time. You just have to mean it when you do. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to show up where it matters. And the people who move culture, shift minds, change energy, they aren't liked by everyone, but they're never forgotten. Because respect lingers. It echoes after you leave. It shows up in how people carry your words when you're not around. And that kind of impact, it doesn't come from playing nice. It comes from standing firm, from showing up with truth, even when it costs you applause. Being liked dies in the moment. Being respected lives in memory. And you're here to be carved into memory. You don't need to dominate the room. You just need to shift it. Your presence should say something before your mouth ever opens. That's what respect builds. An atmosphere, an energy, a silence that says, I know who I am. I don't need you to agree. Because when you carry yourself with conviction, you don't have to chase attention. It comes to you. Not because you're loud, but because you're rooted. People can feel it. The difference between someone trying to be seen and someone who already sees themselves. One is noise, the other is signal. And you've stopped broadcasting for approval. Now, you speak when it matters. And that's exactly why they'll never forget what you said. Respect is earned. But legacy? Legacy is built. Not through perfection, not through people-pleasing, but through conviction. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You need to live in a way that even your silence speaks. People remember those who made them pause, who made them question, who made them feel something they couldn't shake. That's your power, not in being right, but in being real. In a world that rewards copies, authenticity is unforgettable. So stop softening your edges to fit in. Stop diluting your presence to stay liked. You weren't made to blend. You were made to leave a mark. Not just in their minds, but in their standards. They won't always clap for you. They won't always say thank you. But they'll feel it when you're gone. That's respect. Not in the compliments, but in the absence. When your boundaries echo louder than your presence. When your truth keeps speaking even when you've stopped. Because respect doesn't fade when you exit the room. It amplifies. People replay what you said. They measure others against the standard you held. They adjust their tone because you reminded them how to carry themselves. That's legacy. Not trends, not likes, not noise, but the quiet shift someone makes. Because you existed, you don't need to remind people who you are. When you live with weight, your presence does the talking. No need to explain yourself. No need to justify your silence. No need to defend your standards. Because when you hold yourself with integrity, you create gravity. People feel it. They adjust around it. They remember it. Not because you forced it, but because you embodied it. And here's the truth. Being respected means you're not always liked. It means you made people uncomfortable, challenged, aware. And that's the kind of impact that sticks. People forget who made them feel safe, but they never forget who made them level up. You used to try to fit in. Now you define the space. You used to lower your tone. Now your silence shifts dynamics. Because once you stop trying to be liked, you start living in alignment. And alignment creates presence. Presence creates authority. Authority earns respect without ever needing to beg for it. They don't remember the ones who played it safe. They remember the ones who stood solid when it wasn't easy. The ones who didn't need applause to move. The ones who spoke with precision, not volume. Now, you're no longer trying to be understood. You are the understanding. The mirror that exposes, the tone that shifts energy, the reminder that real doesn't flinch. So here you are, not trying to be liked, not trying to fit, just unshakably you. You speak when it counts. You move with purpose. You make people feel something, not because you try, but because you're clear. They may not all agree with you, They may not all like you, but they will remember you. Because you didn't bend to belong. You didn't shrink to survive. You didn't trade your truth for temporary comfort. And that's what makes you different. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you respected. You're not here to be popular. You're here to leave an imprint. Not on timelines, on standards. And long after the noise fades, your name won't echo because it was loud, but because it meant something.